Today's MetroNews television forecast is brought to you by Lou Wendell Marine Sales. We sell family fun.
An active week ahead as we have daily opportunities for thunderstorms, some of which may produce some damaging winds and some heavy downpours. Overall, warm and muggy, but not as hot as last week. Our greatest risk for flooding is where the watch is in effect through this evening in the far northern panhandle and the eastern panhandle. A general ½ to an inch here, and that's going to be with locally higher amounts. Those watches are through this evening, so it is today and tonight that we have the slight risk for some excessive rainfall there, marginal risk elsewhere. Looking east again for a marginal risk Tuesday and Tuesday night. So we have this surface low that is rather stationary across the area as we head through Monday and Tuesday. So this evening, scattered showers and thunderstorms, some thinning out of this late overnight into early Tuesday, then redevelopment of storms Tuesday afternoon and evening with more heavy rain and potentially some stronger wind gusts as well. FlyCRW forecast starts at home. New York is quieting down following the wrap-up of their flooding threat. A cooler spot there as well. Meanwhile, D.C. back to 90 as early as Thursday. The Panhandle forecast, temperatures staying in mid-60s to low 70s overnight with the scattered thunderstorms, then low to mid-80s here on Tuesday, 85. Moundsville, more 60s for lows as we look east, and highs that'll be in low to mid-80s are rather common as well. We'll see 67 tonight for Elkins, looking toward Ripley for 70, 85 there Tuesday, Snowshoe 75 as a cooler spot. Then more mid-60s to low 70s, pretty common across the area for overnight lows. Then Tuesday we have Lewisburg at 82, Charleston at 85. We will have a break from the heavy rain threat Wednesday, but more flooding is possible Thursday and Friday as we continue to be active into the weekend.
You own a boat because you love spending time on the water. Choose the outboard that allows you to make the most of it. Honda Marine's legendary reliability, ease of maintenance, and powerful performance keep you going strong. And they're all backed by the peace of mind protection of the industry's best limited warranty. Visit your Honda Marine dealer today and find out why it's more than an engine. It's your time on the water.
5, 3, 1.
Red 57, red 57, hot, hot.
I don't believe what I just saw.
Bill McKenzie hits a 38-yard field goal on the final play of the football game.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes!
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
From the home of the state's land-grant institution, inside the Health Plan Studios, in the Dale B. Miller Building in Morgantown, it's time for the state's most listened-to sports talk show. This is the CityNet Statewide Sportsline. CityNet, cybersecurity experts for the digital age. And now, across the state of West Virginia and beyond, Sportsline is on the air.
It is the CityNet Statewide Sportsline for this Monday as we begin a new week of shows. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Wiggs, joined in the studio tonight by our co-host, Joe Bricado. And Joe, good evening. Say that again.
Good evening.
I'm used to Brad being on the far end.
I've disrupted the configuration here, is what you're saying.
Okay, we got you now, so you're good. We also have a special guest in the studio, a little bit of a special show tonight as we're going to visit with a very distinguished West Virginia high school coach, David Marshall of Bridgeport, who's a former National Federation Coach of the Year, and he's won boys and girls state championships in West Virginia in basketball, one of just a handful of coaches to do that. First of all, Coach, we welcome you. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Kyle. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, it is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get to know you a little bit and talk about your career and talk about the differences between the boys and the girls game. And we'll get to that in just a couple of moments. But there are some major stories, Joe, that we need to keep people up to date on. A very, very bizarre story that broke, I guess, Sunday with Kerr Kriisa facing charges and being extradited back to West Virginia. I mean, just a crazy, bizarre story.
Yeah, it was late Saturday evening. The initial reports came out of Kentucky, actually, in the Kentucky Sports Radio Network. put out the report that Kerr Kriisa was to be arrested by the Federal Bureau of Investigation in connection with an ongoing investigation for crimes that allegedly were committed here during his time at West Virginia. Now, the indictment was unsealed on Monday, and Greg Kerr at WVMetroNews.com has the full story. The indictment in its entirety is attached there, but just a couple of the bullet points. Kerr Kriisa has been charged by the FBI with 5 counts of wire fraud in an alleged scheme up to $2.2 million. In the indictment, it says that Kriisa allegedly attempted to obtain money from multiple victims using false representations, fabricated identities, and deceptive communications from 2022 through June 2nd of 2026. So all these charges still stemming up to recent weeks. So he has been arrested and is in the process of being extradited back here to West Virginia to ultimately face these charges. He's expected to appear in court at some point this week. Kriisa, of course, spent 1 season playing for the Mountaineers in the 2023-2024 season. So that frame of time between 2022 and last June 2nd obviously falls in line with his time here at West Virginia. But it doesn't say anything in regards to point shaving or any infractions, gambling infractions while he was a member of the Mountaineers.
So real quick, just a paragraph from the release from the U.S. Attorney. The indictment alleges that Kriisa posed as various individuals, including fictional contacts and family members, and falsely claimed he and his family were in danger and that his mother needed cancer treatment and that family property required urgent financial support. So he's accused of defrauding people for money to the tune of over $2 million. So just crazy. When you think you've heard it all, there's something like this that pops up. So again, Greg Kerr looked at the documents from the indictment that was unsealed. There's a story there at WVMetroNews.com. Big 12 football media days. Tomorrow they begin with half the teams tomorrow. West Virginia will be featured on Wednesday. But the Big 12 did release its 2026 preseason all Big 12 team. And there are two members of West Virginia on this team on the offensive side. Both are running backs. Cam Cook, which is no surprise, he transfers to West Virginia. But Caden Luke, the fullback, was named first team all Big 12 at the fullback position, which is a surprise. And Joe, seems like maybe he's one of very few fullbacks in the league.
That's true. And as somebody who has voted in this poll in recent years, the fullback position is not one that appears on a lot of rosters per se. West Virginia obviously has one in Caden Luke, who previously was a tight end and fullback at the University of Arizona. So he's obviously known in the circles around the Big 12. But Caden Luke and Cam Cook, the West Virginia representation on the all-conference team. And as you said, Kyle, media days start tomorrow. West Virginia set to step up to the microphones on Wednesday.
Preseason Offensive Player of the Year, L.J. Martin, another running back on the first team. He, of course, from BYU, and the Defensive Player of the Year, A.J. Holmes Jr., the defensive lineman from Texas Tech. Both of those individuals, Martin and Holmes, are seniors. All right, Joe, give us the World Cup update.
The World Cup update, an exciting game that finished about an hour ago. Spain defeats Portugal by the final of 1-0. Spain scoring in the 91st minute of play. Mikel Merino with the lone goal of the match. So this is obviously significant for the United States. If the U.S. beats Belgium tonight at 8 o'clock, it'll be the U.S. against a team that's widely regarded as the best in the world in Spain coming up in the quarterfinal round, but obviously a big challenge for the U.S. tonight as they take on Belgium, 8 o'clock in Seattle.
So how many have advanced to the final 8 so far?
So we're waiting on 3 more spots in the quarterfinal round to be set. There's 2 more games tomorrow and the U.S. and Belgium tonight. After tonight, there'll just be 2 more spots remaining.
All right, very good. So that's the World Cup update, and the U.S., their latest contest coming up tonight up in Seattle. Coach Marshall, we appreciate you coming in.
Love it, man. This is exciting for me. On West Virginia, boy, I was thinking on the way up here about the people that sat in here and have been through this room. This is pretty awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for your time. And we thought we've on a couple of occasions we've tried to to have lengthier conversations with some of the great coaches. John Lowry was a subject, and again, we appreciate you coming in. So let's go back. 1980s, you're a high school You're a high school student and athlete, so kind of take us back to those times and how you got your start in all this.
Probably a better student than athlete, I'm afraid to say. I played football, went to Liberty High School, graduated back in 1985. I was, like I say, primarily a football player, and in reality, not a real good one, but definitely a passion. I've had passion for sports since I was old enough to remember. Goes back to the Pittsburgh Pirates that we were talking about off air. And as I grew a little bit older, it's probably about ninth grade, I realized that I just had this desire to coach. It was a way I knew I could stay in sports and stay competitive. And the older I got, the more that desire seemed to turn into almost like a ministry, for a lack of a better way to put it. I just realized that I had this passion to try to help young people and try to develop them. And as I got a little bit older, I got into college. I thought originally I would be coaching football, to tell you the truth. But as I got into college, I took some classes. It weren't even in my major. I just needed to fill in a few electives. Took some classes from somebody you guys might have heard of before down at Fairmont State. When he was done coaching, he taught a few classes, Coach Joe Retton. And just being in his room and hearing him talk, I've still got the notebook I had in that class. And it just really caught fire. And I realized that the preparation, the idea of getting a team ready to play in basketball is just such a challenge. And since then, it just kind of took off. And I've been very fortunate to have many other mentors and people that helped me get started in this business.
When you learn from Joe Retton, and obviously his legend built over a number of decades at Fairmont State with what he was able to do, but any particular takeaways from listening to him and taking a class from him?
Yeah, it's in my notebook, and this is one that might not mean a lot to the average person, but it does. My way of thinking, it does. Discipline is love. That three-word sentence. I think it's probably one of the first things I wrote in that notebook that he had us keep. And discipline is love. And I realized that probably partly a lot because the way I was raised by my parents and the coaches that I had in high school. I realized that our young people still desire to have structure and discipline in their life, even to this day, and they need it, and they need to have that provided. He was, again, just a tremendous mentor to me.
How long did it take for you to get your first break, your first job, and then your first big break that led to a head coaching position?
Boy, that's a bit of a story in itself, in that my first degree, when I was taking those classes with Coach Retton, I was getting a degree in business administration. I went to work in the business firm for about a year and a half. Was doing okay in that as far as financially, but I realized that I wanted to teach. So I went back to school. And when I went back to school, because I already had a degree, I was able to work through a few things, and I was able to substitute teach. And at that time, a guy named Bill Montgomery was the principal at Gore Girls he was the principal at Gore Junior High School, and he needed a girls basketball coach, or he was going to have to do it himself. He found out I was interested. I took the job. He helped me get my foot in the door. I took the job, and then it went from there. And a kind of a funny side note from there, I was thinking about this when I was walking this morning. The very first game I ever coached was out South Harrison. At halftime, the score was 2-0. We were down 6-0 going into the fourth quarter. We lost 6-2, and on the drive home, I thought, man, I wonder if I made the right move. But after that, I realized I did, and that was kind of a big step.
Well, that was the template defense, right? Like from your very first game.
There you go. I realized then we may not always have the offensive people, but we definitely would have you could always teach and try to get kids to guard people.
You mentioned discipline is love. That's the message from Coach Retton. Has it changed in years that have gone by in how you instill that discipline? Do the players still receive it the same way, or do you kind of have to adapt in ways?
You have to. I've had to change how that's been approached. Society's changed. I've said this from almost the beginning, and again, some of my mentors said this, and I've picked up on it. The kids really haven't changed. The way we have raised them, and I'm talking about the adults, whether it be the parents, the coaches, the education system that we worked in, there has been changes. In the process, these kids just try to survive, and they try to adapt. And it's our job as educators to try to adapt with them and help them get through the next level. So there's no doubt I coach nowhere near the same way I do now that I did 20, 30 years ago.
So 1995, you take over the Bridgeport girls program. They had never won a state championship, and you build it up to the point where you win a couple. Yeah. So what was that process like, and what were the steps there to build, first of all, a contender, and then one that was able to take the final couple of steps?
Every step of this journey that I've been on, I have been tremendously blessed, and I know that I've found favor. But when I got to that job, I knew immediately that it was a gold mine that just needed some work, and I wanted to make sure that we built a foundation from the beginning, which you already said, Kyle, was based on defense. We kind of joked about it, but I knew if we could get people to guard, and there's not just guarding that you hold the other opponent down. There's a teamwork component to playing defense that I think is even higher than what goes on offense. And if you can get kids to buy in it together defensively, you're getting them to play for one another, play for something bigger than themselves, and therefore it's going to go that direction. We had success the first year that we took over. We actually won the conference championship, but boy, we had a ways to go before we knew we'd be competitive on the state level. And we were fortunate to get a group, probably our third year there, a group of freshmen led by a name some of you might have heard of as Erica Rome. Mm-hmm. She and her sister and her group kind of helped us take that next step. We ended up being number one in the state. I think it was 2021, and Erica got hurt in the sectional final. Back in the days when you had to go through all the gauntlet, and that's also in the days where there wasn't all the seeding. We were number one, and the team that was number two in the state was our regional opponent, and we ended up not playing well. She was hurt, and we got beat there. But that kind of catapulted things, and things just continued to grow from there until we got to Mickey's year when she came in.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. One more question before we take a break. The defensive philosophy. Where did it start? What are the principles, and how has it evolved?
I tell you, the starts probably goes back to the way I was raised. I've just come from my father was a glass factory worker. My mom waited tables, and they did nothing but keep their mouth shut and work hard. And I had that example around me, and I just feel like you've got to show up and you've got to work hard. Now, as far as my basketball influences, Coach Retton would be the top of that list. I got, as far as high school coaches, Russ Nutt helped me out, Billy Bennett helped me out, but I got involved with Bob Knight. I met him personally a couple times. But I mean, he's not like sitting here talking like we're talking to you. I watched many of his practices, and his philosophy about the way the defense should be played, the way the game should be played. And then from there, I also got to know Mike Kerr a little bit. He had some influence on what I have done defensively. So I felt like you've got to hang your hat on something, and that's something that you can do consistently year in and year out if you have a basic scheme. We have adjustments to it, but the scheme is still pretty much the same.
All right, I'm intrigued with these meetings with Coach Robert Montgomery Knight. We're gonna take a break and talk about that when we return, and obviously the back-to-back state championships on the girls' side, 2012 and 2013. We are visiting with Coach Dave Marshall of the Bridgeport boys. Now, again, he's won state championships both with the girls' team at Bridgeport and the boys' team at Bridgeport. This is the CityNet statewide sports line. We're inside the Health Plan studios since 1979. The Health Plan has called West Virginia home. From humble beginnings, they've grown alongside West Virginia, becoming a part of its fabric. For over 4 decades, they've been here through thick and thin, supporting local families and businesses, proudly serving West Virginia for over 40 years. The Health Plan.
We are there for you, to care for you at the Health Plan. We are here for you.
For over 4 decades, we've been rooted deep inside West Virginia. Through thick and thin, supporting local families and businesses. Proudly serving your neighborhood since 1979. Your trusted partner in the community.
The Health Plan, we are here for you.
Living with advanced heart failure can feel overwhelming, but you don't have to face it alone. At WVU Medicine, we believe your heart deserves world-class care, close to home and always within reach. Our specialists offer advanced treatments like heart transplants, mechanical circulatory support, and device therapies to help you manage your condition. For more information, visit wvumedicine.org/heart.
If a fire occurred in your home, would your smoke alarms work? Don't wait for a tragedy to find out. Smoke alarms are designed to give you and your family the precious seconds you need to safely escape. Test your smoke alarms every month by pressing the test button until the alarm sounds. Depending on the type of battery in your smoke alarm, you may need to change the batteries at least once a year or whenever the low battery warning chirps, and never remove the batteries for any reason. Remember, having working smoke alarms is not only a good idea, it's the law. A message from the West Virginia State Fire Marshal's Office.
Live from the Health Plan Studios, the CityNet statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes on MetroNews, the voice of West Virginia.
When you hired me, you were 29. You seemed like you were 50 when you were 29. You were running that thing like a 50-year-old man. All right, we got to go get some tape. Come on, get out of there.
I think I've sort of always been 50, and I think I'm 50 now.
Yeah, me too.
That's
me too.
a great point.
Join Tony Carini, Brad Howe, and Hoppy Kercheval for 3 Guys Before the Game. Metro News Television. Available on mobile, Roku, Fire TV, smart TVs, and online at wvmetronewstv.com.
Longer days, warmer drives, and better deals at Dan Cava GMC. Hit the road in one of our new luxury GMC Acadias. All this and more at Dan Cava GMC in Bridgeport. Shop the world.
Download Metro News Television on your iPhone or Android. Search Metro News Television in your app store. Create an account today to get alerts and watch all live and archived content. Download now.
In 1914, the same year the first commercial flight soared and the Panama Canal opened, Greer Industries was born. Herbert and Agnes Greer began in Morgantown, West Virginia, striking the first pick into the limestone formation that would become the backbone of one of the state's great industrial legacies. From the roads we drive on, the buildings we build, and the communities we serve, Greer Industries has been delivering quality for decades. At Greer Industries, we've been improving lives for more than a century.
Leading the efforts to build a stronger West Virginia, the High Technology Foundation has a proven plan to strengthen and diversify our state's economy. The I-79 Technology Park's high-capacity infrastructure continues to attract advanced federal operations that are driving economic growth. This keeps our young, educated residents in the state and brings West Virginians home. The High Technology Foundation, building a stronger West Virginia. Learn more today at WVHTF.org.
CityNet statewide Sportsline for this Monday night. Thanks for joining us. Big 12 Football Media Day. For the Mountaineers, it's Wednesday. The media days start tomorrow with half the teams being featured, and then West Virginia, part of the teams that will be featured on Wednesday, will have coverage here on the Sportsline the next couple of nights. Joe Bricato's alongside. We're visiting with Bridgeport boys basketball coach Dave Marshall, and again, one of just a handful of coaches in the state who have been successful winning titles, girls and boys. Need to make a quick correction. I think I said back-to-back 2012, 2013. You got to the state championship game in 2012 with the girls and then won it all in 2013. One of the things you mentioned before we took that last break, a little bit of interaction with Coach Bob Knight of Indiana. So how did that come about? Was that a camp situation? How did that come about?
It come about more than anything because I watched their teams play and I thought, man, I just like the discipline. I think probably ties back to Coach Retton. I don't think Coach Retton ever mentioned Coach Knight to me, but it just that same type of mentality that it was going to be discipline first, defense first. And then I just watched some college teams, and his way he played really jumped out to me. And then I actually sent him a letter. I was trying to, at those days, you'd work whatever camps you can. I mean, I was blessed to get to work University of North Carolina men's camp for like 10 years, but I just would randomly send out letters to coaches that I respected and say, do you need somebody to work at camp? I ended up working Coach Retton's camp that one summer because of that. But I sent one to Coach Knight, and I didn't get to work camp, but I still have the letter in my office, my desk in my house. Is he sent back a personal letter and thanked me and told me he'd keep me on the list and to hang in there and keep going. But I used to go out in the fall and go to their coaching clinics, and we get to watch 4 or 5 practices at least every weekend that we went out. And I probably did that 3 or 4 times. The one time my wife, I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but the first time we went out, my wife was actually pregnant with my daughter. And so we spent a lot of time just out there. She's always been a trooper with us. But another time I went out was with Coach Kerr and Coach Bennett, and a whole van full of local basketball coaches. We just packed up and went out and spent a weekend there watching practice and just studying. I've always been a student at whatever I've done, and I was just really a student of how they played the game. And I talked to him a couple times personally. I've got his autograph, that type of thing. But it was, these discussions were like 10 words or less.
Yeah.
But I got to watch him work.
How do you football coaches are quite fond of saying that they steal from each other all the time, that they'll steal schemes, they'll steal plays as they can. Does a lot of that come from making a conscious effort to look at what other coaches are doing, take notes and try to implement that? Or does it just become second nature by what you've been around over the years?
I can only speak for me, Joe, and I would say that the first part of your statement was for me. I still have in my piled in my closet in my office at home some of those very notebooks that I took from Coach Knight or Coach, like I already mentioned, the one I have from Coach Retton and other coaches that I have observed and been around, and some of my own stuff, and just sat down and watched film or read books or whatever I could do. Boy, if we'd have had YouTube in them days, I could have really learned some things. But I'm kind of glad we didn't, because I really had to roll up my sleeves and really dig into it deep. And that became the foundation for the way our system works. And now I can maybe go out and grab some other things, like you're saying. The second part of your statement is I maybe grab something, add something to it myself. Or I'm so blessed to have the assistants I have right now. And I got one, Grant Burton. I just say, hey, you're kind of in charge of the offense. I've got final say over everything, but I call him my offensive coordinator. I say, you give me some ideas what you want to run, but it's got to go through me first, and then we'll take it. But he's been doing it for so long now, I'm very comfortable with what he does. I kind of just stand back and watch him.
So those girls teams in 2012, you had the fortunate to coach your daughter.
Yeah. That was probably the best blessing I've had in my career, including those championships. It's also one of the hardest nights of my life, and when we lost that championship game. Going into that year, I don't think realistically in paper that we thought we'd ever, because we were AAA, that we were the biggest classification, one of the smallest school in the biggest classification. So if you'd asked me at the beginning of the year we even got there, you'd say, well, that's a great thing. But there's just something that hits you when you spend so much time getting ready for these games. You don't really realize that that's your daughter's last game and the last time you're going to get to have her in that. And she handled it much better than her dad did as far as the whole process. I coached her. A lot of coaches probably say this. I probably harder on her than I should have, because she was my daughter. I didn't want everybody to think favoritism and whatever. She just took it in stride, and she was one of the best leaders I've ever coached. Miss her on the bench, but when she was done, I had a college coach approach me down there that last year and said, it was a smaller school from another state, and said, hey, do you think she'd be interested? And I took it to Amanda, and she said, nope. She says, when this is over, I'm done. And I respect that to this day. So she's now raising my grandchildren, and I love that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
A year later, you get back down to Charleston, championship game. I believe the opposite bench from the previous year. You face Westside, win the Class AA state championship. You had some great players, but it was a younger team from what I remember correctly. So obviously, and we'll talk about Mickey Glenn in a second, and she has done tremendous things since leaving Bridgeport High School, but size up that team going into the year. Was it a team that you thought, all right, if this goes well, if this group of players builds up, that maybe they could get back to this level?
I've known you for too long, Joe. I can't lie to you. I knew we had Mickey and a lot of people that had zero experience, and we lost every bit of size that we had. The one player of decent size that we did have got hurt around Christmas and was out for the season. And I spent a lot of time, especially December and January, thinking, my heavens. But we always had Mickey. And Mickey wasn't just a great player. She'd literally make those people around her better. And she kind of kept her coach from, jumping off a bridge or something once. So just because, Coach, we got this. And I thank God for her every day and the influence she had on me. I hope I had a little influence on her.
Yeah, one more point about Mickey Glenn. She scored 95 points in that tournament, which at the time was very close to a 3-game state tournament record. She had 22 of your 44 in the state championship victory over Westside.
Yeah. She missed a free throw that tournament.
One? She missed one.
And I joked with her about that afterwards. And that's literally, she missed one free throw. And Mickey was unbelievable about getting to the line. But she, as you can see now, she coaches at Fairmont State. Yeah. She's a coach. She was always a coach out there. She, more than anybody outside of my own daughter, I think more than anybody I've ever coached, that truly understood what we were trying to accomplish and got it. And, she's like a daughter to me. And it's not just because of that. At those times, she's 1 year younger than my daughter. She spent a lot of time at our house and sleepovers and things like that. So she became very close to me. And so I miss her. I don't get to talk to her as often as I'd like to.
She had a little bit of speed when she ran over to the bench, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, and full on jumped towards you during the championship celebration when you subbed her out.
Yeah, don't make me teary eyed. I was actually in my office, back to my office at home. There's that picture of that. That's one of my there's that picture in the year, 1 year exactly before that. There's a picture of me hugging my daughter and a different kind of tears because we had just lost the championship. So those are two of my favorite keepsakes in my career.
One more about that championship game, if you would. Hannah Fetty, the defensive effort that she put forward. And you mentioned you didn't have a ton of size, but she was able to usually go up against the biggest size from any opponent.
If you remember, Joe, everybody else that we were playing, especially when we got down there, especially in the semis and the championship, they had 6'2", 6'3" kids that can play, especially Westside. I forget the girl's name, but she was first team All-State, and she was a stud.
Lester. Hope Lester.
I think that's it. And we had no choice. It wasn't like I was like, well, am I going to put Hannah on her, or are we going to put Hannah was the biggest kid I had, but she also had the biggest heart I had, and she was a pretty good athlete, and she could understand, because she'd been doing it all year long, that there were certain ways you could play a bigger person and make their life a little bit more miserable. And she definitely did that day. And I remember she probably didn't score. You may have the stats, but I don't know that she scored 15 points in the 3 games put together. But the state writers figured it out, and she was all-conference team on that, and that's for good reason.
Is Mickey the only one of your former players, boys or girls, that has turned to the coaching ranks, or have there been others?
That's a good question. I have one on my staff right now, Thomas Ayub. He was on one of my first teams here at Bridgeport with the boys. He just started on my staff as a volunteer. He helped with RCB girls as assistant coach last year, but we kind of stole him away when Coach Shields retired out of that position. So, boy, you asked me too quick on it. I know we've had a couple others like Kaylee Hatzel that played with my daughter, coached for a couple years, but she was smart enough to move on to other things. But I'd have to stop and scratch my head. I'm sure there's some others, but I can't remember.
Well, obviously Mickey's, as you mentioned, has done great things on the bench. We'll take a break. We are with Dave Marshall, head boys basketball coach at Bridgeport. We'll get into the boys side of things and a recent state championship. And we will take a break, continue the conversation coming up from the Health Plan Studios. This is the CityNet Statewide Sports Line.
We are there for you, to care for you at the Health Plan. We are here for you.
For over 4 decades, we've been rooted deep inside West Virginia. Through thick and thin, supporting local families and businesses. Proudly serving your neighborhood since 1979. Your trusted partner in the community.
The Health Plan, we are here for you.
If a fire occurred in your home, would your smoke alarms work? Don't wait for a tragedy to find out. Smoke alarms are designed to give you and your family the precious seconds you need to safely escape. Test your smoke alarms every month by pressing the test button until the alarm sounds. Depending on the type of battery in your smoke alarm, you may need to change the batteries at least once a year or whenever the low battery warning chirps, and never remove the batteries for any reason. Remember, having working smoke alarms is not only a good idea, it's the law. A message from the West Virginia State Fire Marshal's Office.
Live from the Health Plan Studios, the CityNet Statewide Sports Line returns in 2 minutes on MetroNews, the voice of West Virginia.
Today's MetroNews television forecast is brought to you by Lou Wendell Marine Sales. We sell family fun.
An active week ahead as we have daily opportunities for thunderstorms, some of which may produce some damaging winds and some heavy downpours. Overall, warm and muggy, but not as hot as last week. Our greatest risk for flooding is where the watch is in effect through this evening in the far northern panhandle and the eastern panhandle. A general ½ to an inch here, and that's going to be with locally higher amounts. Those watches are through this evening, so it is today and tonight that we have the slight risk for some excessive rainfall there, marginal risk elsewhere. Looking east again for a marginal risk Tuesday and Tuesday night. So we have this surface low that is rather stationary across the area as we head through Monday and Tuesday. So this evening, scattered showers and thunderstorms, some thinning out of this late overnight into early Tuesday, then redevelopment of storms Tuesday afternoon and evening with more heavy rain and potentially some stronger wind gusts as well. FlyCRW forecast starts at home. New York is quieting down following the wrap-up of their flooding threat. A cooler spot there as well. Meanwhile, D.C. back to 90 as early as Thursday. Panhandle to panhandle forecast. Temperatures staying in mid-60s to low 70s overnight with the scattered thunderstorms. Then low to mid-80s here on Tuesday, 85. Moundsville, more 60s for lows as we look east, and highs that'll be in low to mid-80s are rather common as well. We'll see 67 tonight for Elkins, looking toward Ripley for 70, 85 there Tuesday, Snowshoe 75 as a cooler spot. Then more mid-60s to low 70s, pretty common across the area for overnight lows. Then Tuesday, we have Lewisburg at 82, Charleston at 85. We will have a break from the heavy rain threat Wednesday, but more flooding is possible Thursday and Friday as we continue to be active into the weekend.
Continuing on, sitting at Statewide Sportsline, Kyle Wiggs and Joe Bricado in the Health Plan Studios. Our special guest tonight is Bridgeport boys basketball coach Dave Marshall. We talked about the state championship won on the girls' side in 2014, and Coach Marshall was named the National Federation of High Schools National Coach of the Year for boys basketball after helping Bridgeport win a boys' state championship just a couple of years back, that 26-1 team. So there's been three that we know of. Clyde Green going all the way back with the Romney girls in 1960, and then winning with the Romney boys with Clyde Green, and then winning a state championship with the Morgantown girls in 1978. And, of course, Carl Clark, Coach Stonewall Jackson, to girls' titles in 83 and 84, and then coached the Capital boys in 2000 and 2001 to state championships. So there's three on record there: Carl Clark, Clyde Green, and our guest tonight, David Marshall. They've won state championships with boys and girls basketball. So the boys, what kind of a different challenge is it coaching girls all those years and then switching to the boys' side?
Good question. I think probably more a challenge, not so much as coaching a different gender, but the way, as we were talking off air a little bit ago, and maybe you asked me on air, Joe, about the change in the way the young people respond and the discipline of things and how you get your point across. That's probably been the bigger change. I started to notice that at the end of my time with the girls. But as far as the guys, I coach them the same way, maybe not quite as hard, because it's not because they're guys, but because of the different time in history with young people. But we do pretty much the same offensive schemes, the same defensive schemes. We do a lot of the same drills. I mean, we've evolved. I continue to learn every day. My assistants help teach me. We're constantly studying the game. So there have been the changes in the rules as far as flex days, those type of things. But the way we go about things, I'm still committed to we're going to guard people first and share the ball on offense, take good shots, pass the ball, get those good shots and rebound and get out and push as much as we can and let chips fall where they may.
You picked up at Liberty High School. You mentioned your alma mater for a couple of years and then came over back to Bridgeport. Talk about the building process of that program, because you win the championship in 2025, but obviously you had a lot of good teams leading up to that. Yeah. You were competing in the highest classification for a number of years at Class Quad A as well, and had some very good teams. Did the building process kind of follow a script that you thought getting into that 25 season?
I never want to script to how the things you go through and the challenges that happen and the difficulties, but Bridgeport, we're blessed. It's not like we were starting at bare nothing. I came in from one of my mentors goes back to Bill Kearns. I mean, that's how far it goes back. And then Gene Randolph and Mike Roby had it just before me. So it wasn't like the program was starving to death or anything like that. We knew coming in that it was going to take a couple years to implement the way we wanted to play defensively and get the buy-in, not just from the kids, but more importantly from the parents in the community. Once we were able to get that buy-in, and we had a tremendous group of that last year, that year we won the championship, and we're thinking and hoping that continues to grow with that. But yeah, we knew it would take time, but as a coach, I'm not the most patient guy in the world. I like to think I am. I'm more patient than I probably used to be, but the good Lord continues to put me in positions to make me more patient, which means I have to wait. So I guess we're on a schedule considering that we was in a pretty good situation where we started. Now, to me, the next challenge is what can we do with this year's team? Where do we go now?
Mm-hmm. Well, that team had something probably that you've never had before. You had two big men on that team in Phoenix Sickles and Carter Zuliani, who, of course, is a member of the Mountaineer football squad now, but you had size there.
And, Kyle, I said this 1,000 times, I think. We didn't just have size in our big guys. Our guards were big, not just tall, big. They were physically strong. That's one of the biggest, strongest groups that I've read. If you go back to Mickey Glenn, she was never the fastest kid. She sure wasn't the biggest, but she was physically strong and understood the game. That's what we, aside from Phoenix and Carter, that's what we had on that team. That was kind of the finishing touch. And there was many nights where what we did defensively would just wear people out. By the time we got to the fourth quarter, probably some more athletic kids on the other team would just get tired going against our guys.
Championship game, you guys play about as good a 32 minutes as, and you obviously played well to get to that point, but against Nitro, you win pretty handily. You're able to get most of the bench players into the game. Can you kind of remember the last minute or so, or is the entire winning the championship just a complete blur and you have to go back to the video to you really get a good recollection of it?
Probably more video, but it's been a couple of years now. I've had some time to process it. It's just, you're just so excited for the guys. I mean, obviously as a coaches, we all work hard. Everybody wants to win. Only a few get to, but you have a group of guys there that just paid the dues, bought in so much, was just so. We had two guys on that team that were actually cut from their 8th grade team. I think that's part of the reason, and they were starters they were all staters for us. And I think that's part of what that team's identity. They grinded, they didn't quit. Like it happens so many times in our society. They just said, we're going to get better. We're going to keep playing because we want to play. We love the game. We want to be pushed. We want to be the best. And it just, nobody really thought, at least not in my stand, from my view, that we stop and think, we want to win the championship. We just want to win the next game. We want to get better the next game. And actually, if you go back, Joe, Nitro had beat us before Christmas. We had just got our football guys back, and they weren't ready. And Nitro pretty darn good. Let's don't kid ourselves. But our guys kind of used that, I think, in hindsight, to maybe put a chip on their shoulder that night, and they played pretty well that day.
So an identity and a career as a coach and a teacher. Yeah. We haven't talked about that aspect at all.
Yeah.
So what's that been like all of these decades? Math teacher, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir. That's honestly, I'm a teacher first, and my favorite subject is basketball. I'm not going to fib to you, but if you'd have asked me to pick what I wanted to teach when I was back in 9th grade, when I said I started, I probably would have said phys ed. Then a little bit later, I would have said history. I love history, but I'm where I'm supposed to be. There's no doubt in my mind that God made me a math teacher. I have a relationship. I'm able to teach it probably because I wasn't real good at math. I'm able to teach it in a way that I think helps most of my students. Not all of them would agree with that, but I think it helps me. It's helped me be a better basketball coach. I truly believe that. I love teaching. I'm closer to the end of my career. I hope I still got several years left, but I just love that. I love having a summer break, but just getting to work with young people and help them figure it out is pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned some of the guys that you've coached against, and obviously you have a tremendous amount of respect for. Former RCB head coach Bill Bennett has already texted the show to confirm your story about Steak and Shake from earlier. But what's it like to go up against guys that you have a great deal of respect for, people you probably consider friends? It's competition, it's healthy, but at the same time, you hate that the guy you're opposing has to lose.
Yeah, I hate to lose. I said this since I started. If I was playing my mother in checkers, I'm going to try to beat her. That's just my mentality. But when those games start, it's all about that game. But going in, coming out, guys like Billy Bennett and Russ Nutt, those two of my biggest helpers getting started in this business. I've coached against both of them at one point or the other, but they're like brothers to me. They're mentors to me. I still, to this day, I'm talking to Billy regularly. Russ has kind of secluded himself in the hunting and taking care of his grandchildren, but once in a while we'll reach out to each other. Those are special relationships. But when the games start, they tell you the same thing about me. They're trying to beat my butt, and I'm trying to beat their butt. But they're still the ones I go to and call. Another close one, becoming closer with me every day, is Coach Dave Retton. Probably partly because of his dad. He's kind of been a bit of a mentor to me. And there's a bunch. Our conference is just so blessed with great coaches from top to bottom, and got to know a lot of guys that way.
And not only is it mentors developing as a coach and getting the education and becoming a teacher, you can't do this without your family either. You can't do this day in and day out, week after week, month after month, year after year.
God bless Michelle Marshall. I mean, and that's obviously what you just said. If you ever come to one of our games, I know you guys have been, she's right behind the bench. She's our statistician. When I took this job, she doesn't know anything about basketball. She doesn't know whether that thing's got air in it or pudding. But she loves her husband, and she's been loyal to me, and she's my biggest fan. But part of it, you go back to when I started. When I left that job at that business firm, we've got a child on the way, and she's taking care of both of us at the time. You know, she's providing for the family. Fortunately, she's blessed to have a nice job, was able to do that. But we just kind of rolled up our sleeves. She knew that this is what my calling was. It had to happen. None of this happens without her, without my family, and without her family. It's God just lined all this up in the right way it's supposed to be. And so at the end of the day, glory to him, and I'm just glad to be along for the ride.
Do you do well when there's downtime in the off season for basketball, or do you kind of try to find something to do?
Mrs. Marshall might have to answer that one. I'll tell you, no. For most of my career, no. As I'm getting older, I'm finding more hobbies. Like I've mentioned a couple times, my love for history. Mm-hmm. You'll find me on the fields of Gettysburg. That's a dream job when I retire, is to be a licensed battlefield guide up there. Or you'll find me reading a history book or something like that. I've got 3 grandchildren right now, and that's changed the game a little bit. So I do have something else now. But for years, by the time that season ended, until I got to start working with the kids, I was a mess, and that's not good times. But that's not as much anymore anyhow.
Well, it's changed a lot, and it takes a little bit more commitment, maybe a lot more commitment with the flex days. It's a 12-month-a-year deal now.
Yeah, and I don't know that it's all good. I mean, I was one of those, and Billy Bennett and Russ Nutt, names I've already mentioned. We were some of those when this was coming out. We were fighting for that. Let us have that. Let us have that. Well, I think it was nice, but it's kind of gotten, in my opinion, one guy's opinion, a little bit out of hand, where we find a lot of athletes feeling like they have to make choices. I wish it wasn't like that, but I see it happening. For the coaches I work with, the coaches aren't forcing it. At least I'm sure there are some that are, but not the ones that I'm around. But the kids feel like that because they're just getting burnt out. It can be very taxing on everybody, but there's some benefits, and I get to be around my guys a little bit longer. So I had a good June with them, and that was a blessing.
Very good. Coach Dave Marshall with us. We'll take our final break. We'll have some final thoughts coming up. We're in the Health Plan Studios. This is the CityNet statewide sports line, and CityNet is West Virginia's local internet provider. High-speed, reliable fiber internet is probably right at your front door, and now is a perfect time to connect. Local customer support you can trust, fast, reliable fiber internet built for everyday life. When it's high-speed internet you need, CityNet.net connects, protects, and perfects.
Hey, this is Brad Howe for your local internet provider, CityNet. High-speed fiber internet is probably at your front door, and now's the time to connect. Your tax dollars helped expand broadband access across West Virginia, and CityNet makes it real. More rural communities in West Virginia can finally get the high-speed internet they deserve. With free equipment, free installation, no contract, and local support you can trust. So whether you're streaming, working, gaming, or running your business, CityNet delivers the speed and reliability you need. When it's high-speed internet you need, CityNet.net connects, protects, and perfects.
Answering a text or phone call while driving seems pretty harmless, right? But in the 5 seconds you took your eyes off the road to respond, You missed the girl riding her bike across the street. You missed the dog who darted into the road. And you missed the stop sign. And while it was just a ticket this time, it could have been worse. In fact, more than 700 people are injured in distracted driving crashes each day. Keep yourself and others safe. Don't drive distracted. Just drive. This message was brought to you by the West Virginia Governor's Highway Safety Program.
Ready to make this boating season unforgettable? Head to Lou Wendell Marine Sales, family owned and operated for over 40 years and West Virginia's largest Avalon pontoon dealer. Lou and his sons are boating experts from sales to service to repairs. And right now, their lot is packed with incredible inventory and some of the best deals of the season. Whether it's weekends on the lake or sunset cruises with the family, Lou Wendell Marine Sales has your perfect boat waiting. Because they don't just sell boats, they sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com today.
Live from the Health Plan Studios, the CityNet statewide Sportsline returns in 2 minutes on MetroNews, the voice of West Virginia.
You own a boat because you love spending time on the water. Choose the outboard that allows you to make the most of it. Honda Marine's legendary reliability, ease of maintenance, and powerful performance keep you going strong. And they're all backed by the peace of mind protection of the industry's best limited warranty. Visit your Honda Marine dealer today and find out why it's more than an engine. It's your time on the water.
You know CityNet is West Virginia's leading technology company. Whether we're managing IT infrastructures, protecting the critical data and networks of our region's businesses, or providing fiber broadband, TV, and phone services, we are your go-to experts. We're also a strong partner in the communities in which we serve. CityNet, your trusted technology partner. Learn more about us, visit citynet.net.
We are there for you, to care for you at the health plan. We are here for you.
The Health Plan proudly supports our active and healthy communities and has been your most trusted carrier for over 40 years. Log on to healthplan.org for more information.
We are there for you, to care for you at the health plan. We are here for you. We're Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, and we're gonna save you. We've got it down to a science, an absolute state of art. We do it all, restoration, cleaning, and reconstruction. When disaster strikes, just pick up the phone. We're Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, and we're gonna save you.
Final few minutes on this edition of the CityNet statewide Sportsline. Kyle and Joe, our special guests tonight. Coach Dave Marshall. Coach, we got members of your fan club checking in. Let's see. Coach Texter says Coach Marshall's not only a great coach, but he remains the all-time Fuji ball home run king of Adamstown. Give us 30 seconds on that.
Well, that's what you did. You couldn't play baseball where I grew up because there was houses everywhere. So you played baseball with a tennis ball. That's about all we did in the summer, probably 4, 5, 6 hours a day. And I guess I held the record.
Mm-hmm. Texter says, what a great interview and an awesome guy. The kind of person we need teaching and as a role model for our kids. So,
bless you.
Yeah. And one more thing. This texter has fond memories of trading baseball cards with you in the late 70s. And being coached in the 80s on the basketball court. So have you got a few folks
that's nice
checking in. All right, I got a couple real quick. I got some rapid-fire questions for you. The first one I think I know the answer to. Who is the greatest basketball coach?
Bob Knight.
Yep, Bob Knight. Figured that. Name 3 other coaches who changed the game.
Dean Smith, John Wooden, obviously. And I'm going with one that I've mentioned already, Joe Retton. I just think his idea of the matchup zone just had such a big deal in our game.
Who's the greatest coach in any sport in your mind?
I'm still a Bob Knight guy, but boy, Nick Saban's sure hard to go against.
That's true, winning a record number of national championships. What makes a great competitor?
Humility and drive, to me anyhow.
What makes a great leader?
Servitude. I think leaders have to first and foremost be servants. Serve those around you, and then you got to have an eye for talent. And that's my opinion.
What did you learn from watching the movie Young Washington last week that you didn't already know?
I went to see Young Washington. I did not know that he lost at Fort Necessity. I should know more than that since I'm a history guy. I knew that Fort Necessity, but I didn't know that they got their butts kicked in.
Okay. Who's your favorite president of all time?
Lincoln, hands down.
Who's your favorite historical figure of all time?
I'm going to get jeered at, but I'm a General George Custer fan since I was a child. That's what's got me in the Civil War mindset.
Who's your favorite West Virginia historical figure? Athletics or otherwise?
Wow, that's a toughie. I would have to go, I think Coach Huggins. Boy, he just did a lot for our state, yeah.
Oh, great answer. Beatles or the Stones?
The Beatles. Got them all.
Very good. You did well. You passed,
all right.
passed with flying colors. Coach, this was a lot of fun, and we certainly appreciate it. And good time of year. Slowed down for you a little bit, slowed down for us, so we appreciate you making the trip into town here and visiting with us.
Guys, you really blessed me. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm just so grateful to be part of what I am and able to represent the people I get to represent. Thank you so much.
Excellent job. Joe, thanks for your time as well.
Sounds good. Enjoyed it.
Joe will be back later in the week. Again, Big 12 Media Days coming up starting tomorrow. Tuesday and Wednesday, with the Mountaineers being featured on Wednesday, so we'll have a lot to talk about with that coming up starting tomorrow. Thanks for listening and watching the Sportsline.
From the Health Plan Studios, the CityNet statewide Sportsline is an exclusive production of the MetroNews Radio Network. All rights reserved.